Yeah, you and me both. I'm very glad I'm okay. Just let me know if you can hear me okay. Sounds good and blah, 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 all that kind of jazz. Because you know me, always playing with the knobs and buttons on my little dashboard doohickey. Yay, all good. Love it. Yeah, literally. Almost died, bro. Not even a joke. I'm sure I'll get asked a bunch of times. Morgue meme. I kind of hinted at it on OG Pickles stream last night, but it's crazy. How you doing, Diablo? Everything good, buddy? Oh, Zacho, you're here too, man. What's going on? Why didn't you sneak in here? I didn't know they let you people out this early in the day. How was your weekends, guys? Working away. Oh, that's right. You work from home. I forgot about that. I can do a lot of that kind of stuff too. Work from home and do all my kind of. Oh, Nappy. Thanks for the resub, buddy.
Everything's great.
Appreciate you.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah, you guys. Some of you guys probably haven't seen my new screens and alerts and sounds and all that kind of jazz. Everything's great. Everything is awesome. Thank you, OG Pickle, for that soundbite. You are amazing. Nappy. Dude.
Okay. Everything's
You, sir,
great.
are out of control.
Everything is awesome.
Thank you very much, Nappy. You rock, brother. Something to be said about the community that we've got with regards to the generosity we all give towards each other, just of our time alone,
great.
let alone
Everything
the amazing
is
gift
awesome.
of the Nappy love. If you got Nappy napkins, throw them in there. If you got some Nappy love,
Okay.
throw some napkins in there.
Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
I think I got some napkins somewhere. I got a bunch of really cool emotes here. Napkins.
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
I got some of these too. You seen these? Anybody? Anybody else got these? I got these too. I got some rage.
Okay. Everything's great. Everything
It's
is
awesome.
awesome.
So how you guys doing? Nappy, did you you were there yesterday when I said I almost killed myself, eh? Well, I didn't almost kill myself. I almost died. It's crazy, man. Yeah, so the story, Diablo and Zacho, if you're still around, brother, is I'm up north with my dad this time of year normally, but I had to come home last night for today to be at Rise Above because, you know, I wanted to stream for you guys. And I'm on my way home. It's pouring rain here in Michigan. It's been raining in Michigan for like 4 days straight. And I got my Jeep. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys a picture of my Jeep. Where's my phone at? Where's my phone at? Hang on. Let me grab my phone. And just to give you some perspective of what I drive, because I don't know that I've ever shown you guys a picture of my baby. I'll have to dig deep, try and find a picture. Just so the story makes sense. You know, sometimes you just got to have... Let me see if I can... So that's my Jeep. It's white. It's all jacked up. It's, you know, it's a nice piece of equipment. I'm not going to lie. And so I'm driving that bad boy home. It's got a 4-inch lift, 3-inch body lift, so 7 inches total. It's got big 17-inch tires on it. Really nice rig. Love driving it. It's my baby. And pouring rain. Going through Michigan, going north-south. And I'm heading south. And as I'm coming around this long, sweeping right-hand turn, it must have just poured rain there before I came through. And the back end of my Jeep hydroplaned. And it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So initially, my back end kicked it out. And I'm doing 70 miles an hour. This is a highway. I'm flying. And so my back end kicks out on me. And I correct it. I'm able to bring it back. But when I brought it back around, it kept going. I was able to save it, but then it just kept swinging to my, I guess, to the left. The butt end kept going around. And Mr. Soggy Waffles, I'm just telling my near-death experience from yesterday. I literally almost died. Anyways, so the back end kicked out on me, and I remember I'm doing 70 miles an hour. Spun it around, and I'm doing 70 miles an hour backwards. And because I'm backwards, now I've applied the brakes full stop, trying to get this thing to stop. But it's just soaking wet, so I'm hydroplaning at this point. And for some reason, I'm looking around, and I realize there is nobody around me. I went from being totally in traffic to literally no one being around me. And then I had to look over my shoulder to see where I was going because I was backwards, completely 180 backwards. And I look over my shoulder and I realize the grass median, the part that separates the highways from oncoming traffic, is coming at me. And all I'm thinking is I'm going to slide across this slick grass and mud into oncoming traffic. And there's a bit of a gully there. So I'm hoping basically that the gully is going to grab me, that I'm going to sink into the mud and I'm going to stop. Well, I didn't. As I hit it, I actually felt myself pick up speed because I went from asphalt to grass and mud. So there was less resistance and momentum carried me forward. So all I could think to do was to crank the wheel. And so when I cranked the wheel, it spun the front end around. Again, remember that I have a big Jeep with jacked up everything, so it can handle the off-roading aspect of it. So I cranked the wheel, and as I cranked the wheel, the front end kicks around, and my front wheels come to rest on the oncoming traffic's median. There's the rumble strip that they put on the side of the road, so you've gone off to the side of the road a little bit. My front tires stopped on that, and I took 2 seconds to kind of catch my breath because I finally came to a stop. Realized, crap, I am on the oncoming traffic's road. So I jam it in 4x4, put it neutral, jam it in 4x4, reverse back off of the street so that oncoming traffic in the express lane isn't about to hit me. Pardon me. And then I stopped for real for like 10 seconds now that I knew I was off the road, and I'm just sitting in the median. And I'm looking around and I can see where my tires have dug these huge grooves in the mud and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, I got to get out of the center of the highway. I'm like, before somebody else gawking at me goes off the road. So I jam it and drive. Again, 4-wheel drive. Thankfully, I got a Jeep. I'm able to drive through this mud that's probably a foot deep. I'm just gunning it, getting out of this mud. I finally get it back up onto the side, onto the what's happening, Albert? And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, where did all this? There's like 1,000 cars suddenly flying by me at 70 miles an hour. I'm thinking, what? And 2 seconds ago, there was nobody. Thank God, as I'm spinning on the highway. And so I wait for traffic to clear enough, and I gun it, get on the highway, take it out of 4x4, get on the highway, and get over to the other side where there's a bit of construction. I can kind of get out of the way and off the, danger zone, so to speak. And then I just sat there for a second, took a breath, because I was like emotionally just like, what the heck just happened? And put my head on the steering wheel, collect my thoughts for a good 15, 20 seconds. And thank God I was alive and that nobody hit me and that I didn't hit anybody, especially in the oncoming traffic side of things. And yeah, got out, shut my Jeep off, got out, checked, made sure everything was still attached to my Jeep. It was just covered in mud, grass up underneath my Jeep and all that kind of jazz. And called my wife, let her know what just happened, because I wasn't going to wait another hour and a half till I got home because my brain would go 1,000 miles an hour. Let her know what happened and that I was still alive, not to worry, I'll be home in an hour. Drove my Jeep home. So no one hit me as I spun. I didn't flip because that Jeep is jacked up. I figured if I hit the culvert or something in the ditch, in the median, because they put those drainage things in there. If I hit that, I would have flipped my Jeep. And I got the soft top on now. There's no hard top on it at the moment. And not going into oncoming traffic, being able to get it to stop quickly enough that I didn't continue into oncoming traffic. Because it would have been a chaos. With the amount of rain that we had yesterday, nobody would have been able to stop. It would have just been, oh God, brutal. So, anyways, we got everything. We got the rig stopped, and we got her home safe. And I actually had a good look at my Jeep last night. And honestly, besides mud and grass all over the whole thing, all over the place on the hood and whatnot, that Jeep is solid, man. It survived. Yeah, with that higher center of gravity, Soggy, I thought for sure I was in trouble. It was, yeah, huge blessing, Albert. Yeah, it was one of those things where I thought for sure something bad. But, the crazy thing is during the whole thing, I felt like I was in control. As I'm, swerving side to side, I was working the machine, trying to get it straight again. And then when I finally realized, crap, I can't save it this time, I'm going around, I had the wherewithal to look over my shoulder like I was backing up to figure, okay, where am I putting this thing? Like you're doing 70 miles an hour in reverse. And then when I got on the grass and realized, crap, I had enough. Thank God. I'm not one of those guys that panics. Had enough wherewithal to turn around and look at, okay, I got to turn the wheel to make sure I get around. What's up, Halftime? Nice to see you, buddy. Glad you could make it in the stream. And yeah, anyways, long story short, I got her stopped. We're safe. I told my area manager, Nick, I said, you almost had to start running the show. I was almost out of commission. So, but anyways, glad you all are here. Today we are talking about, what are we talking about today? Is it okay to be selfish? Is it okay if it's just about me? Right? Because, this is an important topic. So here's the question for you guys. What's your opinion? Is it okay to be selfish? Are you selfish? If you are, what are you selfish in? Why are you? Is it something where you're just like, me, 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 me? Is it something where your selfishness is some sort of self-preservation? Like, if you're selfish, and be honest, no one here going to judge you besides maybe Diablo. Why is it that it's always about risk averse? Yeah, buddy. If it is, why are you, or why do you feel that way? I'm just joking with you, Diablo. Is selfishness a good thing? What do you think? You're the polar opposite, Nappy? You don't think you're selfish at all, you think? And that's not a facetious question. That's an honest question. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to be a bit selfish to maintain balance. You have to think of yourself. So yeah, that's to the detriment. Yeah, I can see that. You're a little selfish at times. But so, Albert, talk about that for a second. Would you say that that's important? Hey, what's up, Insightful Nick? Spend the bulk of your time caring for others, you neglect yourself and actually screwed up. Yeah? So now, Insightful, you're getting onto something. You're getting to the point of this stream. You, sir, have touched the magic button. So it's a both and is the way I'm going to approach it today. And I'm going to approach it kind of like from the standpoint of Insightful Nick. The idea here is there is a time and a place to be selfish, and then there's a time and a place, like Nappy and Soggy were saying, to be selfless. So here's the scenario. You're on a plane. For whatever reason, there's an emergency. What's up, Uncle Jim? For whatever reason, there's an emergency on the plane, and cabin pressure is lost. What's the first thing that happens? Those little oxygen masks come down, right? Who knows how long you have to get your oxygen mask on in that situation before you pass out? How long do you have? Because they don't drop unless they need to drop. How long do you have? When those oxygen, little yellow masks with the white strap with the clear hose on them, how long do you have before those things, before to put those on before? You don't have long, Diablo. You are right. You literally have about 5 to 10 seconds, they say, before you go, before you totally pass out from lack of oxygen. And Albert, that's exactly what they tell you. They tell you to put your mask on first before helping others. Why is that? No problem, Miss H. Thanks for making it, kiddo. I'm still waiting for your Discord message. So why do you put your mask on first before you do the others? Because, hey, I'm an selfish guy. I'm going to help my neighbor put his mask on first, especially this little 3-year-old kid that's sitting beside me, right? Exactly. You can't help anyone if you're passed out. So the object there, and the reason why they say put your mask on first, even if you have kids, is because you're not going to die. The idea of when you pass out, you're still breathing, right? You have enough oxygen there that your body is not going to completely collapse in that 15, 10 seconds, whatever it is. So if you don't put your mask on first, you're going to collapse in the process of getting your 2-year-old's mask on. And your 2-year-old is not going to be in a position to help you get your mask on. So the idea is you put your mask on first, you get the oxygen you need to perform the next task, which is then to help others. That in itself is the crux of this whole topic of selfishness, right? Also, you told me off for not replying quick. I know. I was away. I was in a place with no internet. Picture on my Discord, Soggy? Wait a second. I actually haven't been on Discord. I came in today just for you guys. You believe that? I'm that guy, you know? I'm very selfless. I'm just kidding. Gym announcements. That's me. Warm up. What you got here? Soggy. You, sir, suck. Everybody see this picture? Everybody? Did everybody see this picture? Look at this guy. Got a little OG pickle. Got a little Choco Taco. And we got this goofball. Horrible. And then Mrs. H, you know, she's up here. She says she messaged me. I think that somebody else did that. I don't even think she did that because I waited like a week and a half for her to respond to me. I'm a little hurt. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I wish I could have went. I'm sure you got me lots of autographs, though. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Because last year somebody else got me autographs. But no, I'm guessing Soggy didn't. That's fine. No, that's perfectly fine. I understand. I get it. Selfishness. That's fine. I'll cry later. Oh, my phone. Always with my phone. Let me shut this nonsense off. I should have did it before, but I didn't. Thank you. All right. So again, you're on a plane. You put the mask on first. Why? Because you have to be able to function in order to help others. So this is the crux of the topic today. If you, and Mrs. H, maybe you can even talk to this, you know, because, you know, you talk about this on stream all the time, this idea of if you are in a broken state, mentally, even physically, and you're not taking care of yourself, what good are you to the people next year? Don't Soggy. What good are you to the people around you, especially those who are depending on you? Maybe even depending on you to put a mask on to save their life. Right? You have to be at a place where you can perform, even just love each other. Right? To be able to oh, gee whiz, make dinner. Get your kids ready for school. Take care of yourself so when you go to work, you're able to do the tasks that you're paid to do and to be a good workmate. You know what I mean? Best Buy, yes, the Best Buy. Thank you for the sponsorship. I think that's critical. What's up, Inspector Gadget? Inspector Gadget. Usually I always put others first, but recently with my breakdown, my mask went fall. Yeah. And I go to church. I get the whole mask idea because people who go to church do it all of the time. This is my one complaint with church. People are so fake. And remember, I'm an ordained minister. I love the church. But you want to find the phoniest people in the world? Go to church. Why? Because, oh, how you doing, Neil? How's everything going? Oh, yeah, everything's great. Big smile on the face. Nobody wants to tell the truth. And that's the place to tell the truth. That's supposed to be the place where everyone's non-judgmental and there to help you. But yet that's the place that everyone wears that mask. And if you're at home, as Mrs. H was talking about, and you're wearing that mask, and your mask falls off because your kid spills a glass of milk on the kitchen table, what's likely to happen? And Mrs. H, I'm going to talk about your comment here in a second. This is something we see at Rise Above all of the time, where students come in and they have this mask. They have this facade that they wear until something happens. As long as everything's perfect, as long as the milk doesn't get spilt, nobody touches my lunch, as long as the computer works perfectly, as long as Mrs. So-and-so doesn't tell me what to do, as long as Mr. Fernandez doesn't try and crack a stupid old man joke, as long as everything's perfect, the mask works. But the minute it isn't perfect, that crack in the mask falls off and gosh dang it, all hell breaks loose. There's yelling, there's screaming, there's accusations, there's falling short of punching, kicking, and screaming. It's chaos. Why? Because the mask is a thin facade, as Mrs. H points out, very likely is just there to protect me. So you don't ask me the deep probing question I don't want you to ask. And that question 9 times out of 10 is, hey, how are you today? Especially, hey, how are you today? Is everything okay? You look a little off. That's the one that scares the heck out of people. You talk about your mask differently, though. My mask is a protectionary thing to keep me rolling so no one sees the pain. That is 99% of our kids here. The other part of the mask that kids wear here is lying. They lie a lot as a form of mask to protect themselves. Oh, one other thing real quick before I forget. No dono cam today, so if anyone... Nappy, you gifted subs earlier. I apologize. My studio is being revamped at the moment. The Dono Cam has been moved, so it's not ready. I can still do the push-ups if you want me to. I happily do them. I haven't done them in a weekend. If your mask fell off in front of your children, my children would end up like me and hiding them. Yes. So let's talk about that for a second. How do we protect those around us in case our mask does fall off? Mrs. H, I mean, you're the one that probably has the most experience in this because you talk with this constantly on your stream and stuff like that. I mean, so is that your answer, being big-headed and confident? Or acting like you're confident? What's up, Morgme? Glad you made it, kiddo. No problem, Insightful Nick. Now, Inspector Gadget, so you're probably kind of like me then. If people can see your pain, you're probably wearing it on your face a lot. Like when I'm upset, people know I'm upset. Like I don't have a good mask. I tend to not. I'm not a good faker. Like if I was to ever come on stream and try and pretend to be happy, you guys would know immediately. Because it just, my whole demeanor changes. Like if you would have saw me yesterday after the accident, because it was essentially an accident where I almost ran into oncoming traffic. I mean, if anybody missed that intro to the stream today, I suggest to go back and watch the beginning of the VOD where I talk about my accident from yesterday because it was pretty crazy. If you would have seen me yesterday when I got home, I was not in a good place. Like I was emotionally just spent, right? So now there's something more to that. So Mrs. H, you say you're a master at hiding your feelings, right? To me, I would say that's good and bad, because it's good in the sense that you don't. Well, let me put it in the frame of this. When we bring in, pardon me. I just had an apple and I'm a little burpy. When we bring a new student into Rise Above, one of the first things that we say to them is, I give you permission to have a bad day. And they go, what? Yeah, you can have a bad day. I said, I'm going to have a bad day. And you're likely to know that I'm going to have a bad day. Because like I said, I wear it on my face. But what I don't give you permission to do is to blow my building up. What I'm basically saying is, you can have a bad day, but you don't get to piss everybody else off in the process. You don't get to make everybody else's life in this building living hell just because you're upset today. Your job is to come in, take a minute to collect yourself. If you got to sit at your desk and kind of chill and just, I need to be in my zone for a minute, go ahead and be in your zone. Just know that at some point, I'm going to turn to you and say, are you ready to deal with your crap? Now, Mrs. H, I'm not assuming that that is good for everybody. So I'm giving a very generalized example of how we would approach it. Because certain personalities don't do well with that approach. Some need a very different approach, which is a very one-on-one, very emotional, very personalized interaction where we come alongside them. But the bulk of our students, it's, dude, you're either getting to work or you're coming to talk to me. You know, what do you want to do here? Because we got to work through this. We're not going to write off an entire day just because you woke up in a pissy mood this morning, right? Last time I had a bad day, I went half bald up. Yeah, and some of the, so that, Mrs. H, is part of the whole adverse childhood effect, the whole trauma thing where you've learned how to, it's almost like self-medicating, right? Some people self-medicate in very different ways. Some people it's self-harm. Some people it's the whole drugs and alcohol thing. Some of it's unhealthy relationships, right? So all of us self-medicate in some way. For me, it's usually sitting down in my basement, eating tons of candy, and playing with my toys, in my man cave. And and that's my self-medication because I don't do the whole drugs and alcohol thing, right? At least not alcohol to excess anyways. So, but we all do this slightly differently. The idea, and why I'm saying, is it okay to be selfish, is because there's a point where you have to say to yourself, I have to fix me before I can ever begin to help anybody else. Before I can ever step into the place where I'm going to be a good leader for my family, for my coworkers, for my friends, especially if you're in a place of leadership. So, what we do here is a prime example where I've got, 10 to 12 kids on a daily basis that come in who are just, if there's not good leadership here, oh dear God. You better just call 911 and just wait to dial the other one in a second, right? Because something's about to happen because there's no leader in the room. There's a reason why we say to every one of these kids when they come in, just know now that I'm the alpha male. I'm always going to be in control. Because if I'm not in control, something really bad's happened. And you, as a parent or a friend or whatever it might be, even if you're not the alpha male in the conversation, at least know at some point you are going to need to play that part. You're going to have to step into that leadership role at some point because it could be, you're walking down the street and your friend suddenly gets into an argument with somebody else and you're going to have to step into that role of, hey, this is not okay. This is how we're going to resolve it because your friend clearly is not in a good place. It's also this idea of if you're at home and your spouse is usually the leadership, the alpha male, so to speak, or the alpha person in your home. When behavioral things happen, and they're not home, what are you going to do? You have to be in a spot to be in that role. And if you're not healthy, what do? Wait till your other half gets home? You can't. You have to address the. I wouldn't resign to be always being crazy. Why rely on the doctors? Yeah, I mean, to a point. I mean, Mrs. H, I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination. But, I mean, ultimately, you're the one in control. Fight it. I mean, I'm a fighter and a kicker, man. If I'm losing control, I'm going to bite you. I will do everything to gain that control back from. My personality is I never resign. I don't give up. I'm a fighter. Yeah, and Mrs. H, I agree with Morgan, that's a yeah girl. I agree. I mean, I don't play games with that. You know, we have kids all the time, and I make no bones with the fact that when we have students that come in for very tragic things, first thing we do is say, okay, that doesn't define who you are, you know, and we're never going to bring it up unless we absolutely need to, because that's yesterday, we're working on today. Right. And that's why for you, Miss H, that's what resigning does. It constantly gives a foothold to the past. Morning, Kath Cal. Glad you could make it, kiddo. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, you know, and fighting is exhausting. And Albert, it's important to know when to walk away, but you know, when it literally involves your life, and this is my I guess my challenge to you, Mrs. H, when it involves my life and when I have my kids involved, there's always going to be a crack, and I'm going to fight to fill that crack in my life constantly to where anyways. Mrs. H, you and I got to talk because I'd love to hear more about that perspective. So that's that Discord conversation we got to have sometime. Yeah, and I get the whole blame your abusers less, but there's a difference between blaming abusers for me, which we do. Again, this is another thing we do with the students here. We blame the abusers less, but we never stop blaming them, right? In the sense that we don't let them off the hook. And I'm not talking about blaming in the sense of blaming, you know, putting things on Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of jazz, but just understanding what started this and understanding how I'm going to use that knowledge to make sure it never happens again. So... yeah, that's critical. I just took my kids away from anything that deemed trouble. I don't always allow too many visitors in my house. My home is a safe. Yeah, and that's critical for us. Hey, Rabbit Ferret. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Everything.
Appreciate the sub.
Awesome.
Can you guys hear the sub message clearly? Can you hear OG Pickle say everything is great, everything is awesome? Can you guys hear that okay? Couldn't make it out? Okay. I'll fix that for the next stream. Make it a little louder. Because I think that is a cool piece of the stream. We redid all of the stuff. I wonder if I can do it right now while we're chatting. Actually, I don't think I can because we're live. Actually, let me see. Let me see, and then we'll do a test. Alert box. Give me the alert box. Subscriptions. Stick with me, people. Little off track. Media. Volume. Okay, I'm going to play a test. You guys tell me if it's any louder.
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
Is that better? Is this one better? Oh, awesome. A bit better? Okay, because I can do a couple things to help with that. So, cool. So yeah, thanks. So I mean, you've really got to think about, what. How do I say this? Because I don't profess to have the answer to this. This is why I'm bringing it to you guys. I'm hoping part of this conversation is understanding how do we get ourselves out of this little box that we trap ourselves in, thinking that we have to accept our circumstance. that we have to accept the fact that, well, I'm just not going to get my mask on first. I got to, I'm going to pass out on the plane, but I'm going to get my 2-year-old's mask on. That, to me, that's not fair. That's not fair to you. Your 2-year-old's going to be okay for that minute while you get your mask on, right? Or whoever it is that's beside you. In this idea that we can give up on ourselves and just be okay that we're, and again, there's some stuff that for some people that you can't recover from. That it's just, and Mrs. H, maybe this might be part of our conversation that we have offline. That might be part of some things you can't change. The fact that I have, I'm missing a finger or something. I don't know. That there's a physical ailment that you just can't change. And psychologically, there could be something there that you just can't change. But I'm talking to the 95, 98% here who just resigned to the fact that, well, this is the way it is. I'm going to sacrifice all of me to make sure that so-and-so gets XYZ. And so let's take it from the psychological purely for a second, because that's where we've been kind of landing here, to even the idea of, so take finances. So here's my dilemma, and I'm going to be a little bit personal for a second. Rabbit, I'll come back to that in a second. So let's talk about finances. So here's my dilemma story. Kids in university. University costs $25,000 a year. Conservatively, $22,000 a year. Yeah, exactly, Morgme. That amount is roughly, I would say, 40% of my annual salary here at Rise Above. 40%. Is it wise for me to do everything I can to ensure that my kids' finances or tuition is paid for? Or is it wiser to say to my student, my son, you need to either go to a different university or you need to wait until we're in a different spot financially? Because again, selfish. Is it wise that I say, because I can do it. I have been. This is the 3rd year we've been doing it. We've been making it work where my son is going to university and he's playing on the soccer team. He's got a scholarship, so it's not exactly $20,000. Right? And do we be selfish and say, for the sake of the family, we're not doing that? Or take out heckle, exactly. And people do that all the time. I literally just this year finished paying off my student loan. So the premise of selfishness, Rabbi, while you guys are thinking about that, I'll explain to Rabbi what we're doing. The idea of, is it okay to be selfish? I use the analogy of the plane when the oxygen mask comes down. Whose mask do you put on first? They tell you in the plane to put your mask on first. And the idea there is why? Because you literally have seconds to put your mask on before you pass out. And if you don't put your mask on first, you're not going to be in a position to put your 2-year-old's mask on. And if you put your 2-year-old's mask on first, you're going to pass out and your 2-year-old's not going to be able to put the mask on for you. And you're basically toast at that point. Right? So the idea here is there are times and places where being selfish is good, and there are times and places where being selfish is bad. I'm asking you guys to journey with me to figure out when those times are appropriate. So, there may be, there may be other situations where it's completely inappropriate to be selfish. No problem, Kathy. I'll take it easy. So I don't know. I'm fiddling with my camera here a little bit. I'm noticing things I don't like. Just trying to smooth stuff out. So I mean, I don't know. I think there is a time and a place, definitely, where you've got to do these sorts of things, where you have to be completely selfish. Explain that, Rabbi. What do you mean by that? I used to have many nights my kids ate first. Yeah. Especially from that perspective, I grew up in a house where money was not plentiful, let's say. And we had difficulties often with food, with money, with everything when I was a young man. And it probably wasn't until I was 13 or 14 where things like food insecurities and home insecurities went away. Right? Because that's a legit challenge for a lot of people, especially in today's day and age. Like, it is not uncommon for people to look secure, but to be completely insecure in those things. And it's more often the whole idea of being selfless, as you guys talked about, especially at the very beginning, and as Inspector Gadget and Mistakes are talking about now, this idea of, especially when it comes to your kids. So I'm going to give you a scenario. You're swimming. You, your spouse, I'll use husband and wife for this scenario because it makes the most sense. You, your wife or your husband, and your kid are swimming. This is a moral dilemma, but walk with me. You, your wife, and your kid are swimming. As you're swimming, your wife or your husband, and your kids start to drown, and you're swimming alongside them. You have a choice to make. Who do you save? Who gets your attention first? Because that's essentially what you're saying in a lot of these. So here's the moral dilemma. Why your child, Rabbit? Because everybody always says my child. Everybody always says child. Why? And the person that initially asked me this question, it had to be 15 years ago, would disagree with all of you. Because I said child too. Of course I'm going to save my child. There's innocence there, right? That the idea is innocence. They have more to live for. You're responsible for your child. Yeah, I can see all that. But I mean, use your response earlier, Rabbi. The idea that, this idea of things being inherently selfish. Self-care, it's the appearance to others. Because you yourself don't say, I'm being selfish. Rarely do we. It's usually somebody external that says, wow, you're being awfully selfish. That's the frame that we're talking about, I guess I should clarify that a little bit. So the reason why he said, to back up one step, because I'm kind of all over, I got a lot I want to talk about. So the reason why he said spouse before child, or partner before child, because the idea there was you can make more children. assuming you're still of childbearing age and whatnot. So, because he was speaking to me at the time with my wife. So we were clearly at childbearing age because I only had one kid at the time. So, Rabbi, I asked a different question then. So you say no because my spouse is adult, blah, 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 deserves saving, but she's responsible for herself. So are we not responsible for each other regardless of age, sex, all that stuff? Do we not have some responsibility to each other? And this is the whole crux of my selfish versus not being selfish conversation. The reason why we say not to be selfish is because we are ultimately responsible for each other. We are at some point, some way, somehow responsible for each other's care. Right? Take my accident on the highway yesterday. If I would have hit somebody else, I would have been responsible. I'm sure an officer would have came to me at some point and said, well, you were driving too fast for the conditions. Therefore, you are responsible for any damage or injury you caused to somebody else. Thank God I didn't. And Rabbi, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. That's why it was my answer as well. The challenge is it's complex. So again, the idea of selfishness or being, as Rabbi, you put it perfectly, this idea of self-care, putting yourself first, physically, emotionally, financially, puts you in a better place to then help others completely. Not just partially, but completely. So Nappy, it's not a question of being selfish so without hurting others. The idea of being selfish is so that you don't intentionally or otherwise hurt others, right? So that you're actually in a place where you're not hurting anybody. You're actually in a better place to actually help others. Yeah, no problem, Rabbi. So, and this is the other thing, Rabbi. You make a great point, the idea of priorities. So selfishness, for me, is going to look very different than selfishness for you. It's the same thing. We just had this conversation last night. I had some guests over at my house last night. And we talked about truth. Wow. Can someone type what truth is for me, please? Anybody? Odds are, there's 12 viewers right now. 12 of you are going to type 12 different, are going to type 12 different answers. You are. Because it's subjective. It's the same thing with selfishness. If I asked each of you to define what it means to be selfish, I guarantee each of you is going to type something else what it means to you to be selfish. Selfish to you might be, I don't share the Doritos that I have hidden in the cupboard with my kids. Why? Because I want the Doritos. They can eat those salt and vinegar chips. Because I'm not a big fan of salt and vinegar. Actually, I love salt and vinegar. That might be selfish to you. It's selfish to others might be, I make $2,000 every 2 weeks. After I pay the bills, I have $200 left over. I take that $200 and I go to the bar with it. And I drink the $200 instead of taking my kids to the park, the amusement park, or spending family time. To some, that might be, their version of selfishness. You follow what I'm saying to you? So it is very subjective in the same way. Me saying, what is truth? Inspector Gadget, would you say, as a firefighter, we always had to protect ourselves so we could, yeah, because that's the thing. If you don't, right down to your equipment. If you didn't ensure that you took the time to put all your equipment on right before you went into the fire, you are a very ineffective firefighter. True story. This is my true story. Reality. This is a real thing. I was in the military. Many of you know this. I first started as a machine gunner in the Army, and after a time I remustered. I changed my job, and I became an airborne paramedic. Flew around helicopters, and I was a ambulance attendant, basically. Glorified ambulance attendant. And we spent a lot of time training. I mean, half of the year, 6 months a year, actually training, not just in the field, but where we'd be just every day. Went for a jog in the morning, went for a jog in the afternoon. And at some point, a couple of times a week, they would set up scenarios. So you'd be jogging away, and you're exhausted, you're sweating, you're out of breath, and suddenly, out of the blue, you'd be jogging, and you'd come over a hill, and there'd be somebody lying on the road. What the heck? You'd have to get up there, and you would turn into a paramedic at that point. And then, okay, it's all training. They've staged it. They want to get you ready for emergencies, blah, blah, blah. And so you get up there, and you go through the triage, and you do all that stuff. One day, true story, one day, and this is the epitome of selfishness. But, again, it's based on the scenario. So, again, you have to look at your scenario and ask yourself, where in this am I being selfish and why? Is it good or bad? So here's the scenario. We're running along. Yeah, selfless and stupid. We're running along. Let's say 10 of us, 11 of us. I can't remember exactly how many. It was a good group. And as we're running along, there's an officer leading in front, and I was a good runner, so I was up there with him, always trying to keep pace and push myself. Suddenly, out of the bush, literally, because we're in the middle of northern Ontario, this big wide open bush, somebody comes booking out of the bush, and they got fake blood on them and all this kind of crap, clothes all torn up. They're like, oh my gosh, and they're screaming like panic. We just got attacked. Come on, you got to help. You got to get in there. You got to save them. They're killing us. Blah blah blah. And literally, everybody ran into the bush. And for some reason, as I started to run, I stopped in the middle of the street. I didn't run into the bush. My self-care instinct kicked in, and I thought, I ain't going in there. So the officer who was there screaming, come on, get in there, we got to help him, all this stuff, started yelling at me saying, Fernandez, what are you doing? Get in there. People are dying. What are you chicken? You scared? And I'm thinking, no. I said to him, I turned and I said, I'm not going in. I said, something's not right. And he said, what do you mean? Get your butt in there. People are dying and all this kind of stuff. And they have, in the background, they have these, they're called RD Sims, artillery simulators. They're like canisters, looks like hairspray cans, and they explode and whatnot. So they're simulating explosions going off and stuff. And I said to him, my officer, I said, I'm not going in. I said, something's not right. And suddenly his whole demeanor changed. And he went from this mean, fierce, you're an idiot, get your butt in there, you coward voice, to a huge smile, looking at me and going, congratulations, you're the only one left alive. Everybody else is dead. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, whatever stopped you from going in there stopped you from walking into a minefield. Because they had laid all these flags out to simulate where the mines were. And basically what the victim thought was happening is they were getting ambushed. The reality was the people that were the victims had walked into a minefield. And so when he came out yelling, oh my gosh, they're attacking us, because his perception was false, he convinced all of our other people who were being very unselfish, very brave, to run into the forest, and he killed them all unintentionally. And people do this all the time because I'm not emotionally prepared to deal with what you're emotionally bringing to me. I'm going to let you draw me into your battle, and I'm not emotionally prepared, and I'm going to walk into a minefield. And because I'm not emotionally ready to receive what explosions are going on around you, it's going to explode all around me too. And that's what happened that day, is because I said I'm not ready to go in there because that minefield hasn't been cleared for me. Now, I didn't say that. My mind stopped me from going in there just out of sheer luck and just like, no, something's not right with this story. But the idea there is we do that same thing emotionally. We try and help people when we're not emotionally ready ourselves to help them, and we end up doing more harm in this case, a lot of battle wounded and dead, because we weren't prepared. The field wasn't ready for us to go in because there were still tons of mines, traps laid for us. Once upon a time, there was an EMT, and to this day, I'm still a CPR instructor. Yep, I have level 6 CPR. When you're first learning about, in Canada, it's called level 6. I don't know what it is here. When you're first learning about responding to an emergency or CPR class and learn about the scene is safe. Well, here, you just told my story. Yeah. It's the first step before you assess an injury emergency. You do this because you need to prioritize yourself, be safe. Again, it's that whole idea. The ambulance only has room for one, so and this is triage, what you're describing here, Rabbi. The whole idea of triage is you assess, and they will number victims from 1 to 6, or what everyone uses slightly different numbering, but ours is 1 to 6, and 1's got treated first. They were life-threatening emergencies all the way down to 6. This guy's got a scratch and maybe needs 1 to 2 stitches, whatever the case is, but he's not life or death, right? And that is exactly what you're doing. And by doing that, you ensure that the guy isn't sitting, on a landmine or something. When you talk about selfishness, I think it's important to acknowledge the nuance around the topic. And I agree. In the constraint for time, I was trying to get things going. I probably should have done a better job introducing the subject. And I guarantee I'll do that dozens of times through dozens of topics where I don't adequately introduce the topic. I'm just so excited to talk about it. Yes, so I want to talk about that not all help needs to come at a sacrifice. Very often, our help comes, and I'm looking at chat right now. I love how much you guys are engaged in this topic, because I think we all do a great job and a bad job sometimes at this. So I think very often people think sacrifice is detrimental. And it doesn't necessarily need to be. For example, you sacrifice part of your time to get a university degree. Was that a detriment to you? In some cases it might be, because that degree in pottery just really isn't going to pay off one day. But if you went and got a degree in counseling, and then you turn around and you turn that degree for good, and you start helping dozens and hundreds of people in your lifetime, that sacrifice paid dividends, gee whiz, 1,000-fold, right? So, Rabbi, you hit the nail on the head when you say it doesn't necessarily need to be sacrificial, And again, another way of looking at it is I have 2 kidneys. Do I sacrificially give my kidney to my brother because he needs a kidney transplant? You can live with only 1 kidney. You're the Inspector Gadget. You were the training officer for the department and was suspended for wearing my PPE after my assistant chief told me not to wear it because he didn't want to refill the bottle. That, sir, is I was almost swore. It's freaking crazy. Freaking crazy. So the wrong person got suspended there. I won't get into that too deep, but that's ludicrous. And I'll give you another military scenario. Kind of the opposite of that, though, where someone didn't use their PPE properly. And this was a gas mask scenario where sleeping bags in the military are, at least ours anyways, were waterproof and had a vinyl or some type of really dense material covering that was almost like plastic. And one of the things you were never supposed to do was to use this particular outer shell when you had to wear gas mask or when you were under threat of a gas attack. So during training, and this one guy wore his gas mask. Rabbi, I would love that. This one guy wore his gas mask to bed with this vinyl covering, and he almost died. He almost suffocated himself. We suddenly We suddenly heard him getting up, choking and gasping for air because the gas mask where the air comes in, the hole got covered by this plastic sheet and blocked the hole. He couldn't breathe. And so similar, but the opposite, Inspector, where he was using it improperly and he got in trouble versus you using it properly and your boss just being cheap. Like that to me is asinine. And I'm thankful you left the department because somebody somewhere was going to make you do something that was going to hurt you or somebody else. So hopefully you found a suitable replacement for it. I would tell you, to all you guys, I would, in a heartbeat, have any of you on the stream. That my one challenge to you is the PG stream. Mrs. H. I'd love to have in the stream, but PG. Right? Because it's difficult often to get the full expression through in chat, because you miss all the nuances of language when you're just using chat, right? Yeah, well, I almost give you grace then if you're quitting smoking, because, I mean, I almost would rather have somebody punch me in the face 3 times a day than try and quit smoking. Yeah, and I'll tell you, Rob, if we need to do it on a weekend or something like that, I can come in and we can even record it, and I can run it as a recording if need be too, right? I would happily do that. It doesn't need to be live, but we can definitely find a time. And like I said, if any of you want to do something like that, whether it comes on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever the case is, just to poke your head in. Because it can just be sound too, right? It doesn't need to be video. So if you don't have a camera, don't worry about it. As long as you can get into Discord and we can run Discord, we can just do that. So keep that in your back pocket. I just did a huge podcast, little shift of gears here. We can catch ourselves emotionally for a second there. I just did a huge podcast for a local news agency here, but it's business-y related. So kind of cool. Never really done a true podcast before. So. I need a break for a second, because that's emotionally draining talking about that stuff, because it's huge. The idea of having to decide when to treat me before I treat somebody else is deep. I've been a guest for a few podcasts. I believe it or not, I can stop swearing for good. Really? Wow. That's a good switch you can flick there. Not many people can do that. I know when I go up north with my dad here, I sometimes the trucker voice comes out. But 99% of my life, I don't drop those words too often. Yeah, and Rabbi, that's the beauty of mine, is I can pause, think about what I need to think about, and then get back at it. I don't know if you guys can see this, but if you can see my chair in the background, kind of twitching. One of the things that I am, or have been in the past, and I've learned to cope, is I'm ADD. Yeah, I'm sure you can. My leg always bounces. I catch myself doing it once in a while, and I have to stop it. And that's why I say to you, my mind, when these subjects come up, my mind is going 1,000 different directions all at once. It's everything I have to keep it focused. And the way I usually do that is by bouncing my legs. So that's why if you see me getting into a deep conversation and that chair starts twitching, that's because I'm trying to stay focused on the topic. And that's why you'll also see me play with the microphone all the time, because I'm always I just got to do something to occupy the other half of my brain so that I don't lose track of what's going on. So I appreciate see, even just now, my leg started to do it again, and I said to myself, stop. So I thank you for your patience. If you see that going, I hope it's not too much of a visual distraction. Mrs. H, you could really turn that into a money-making scheme, the whole swearing thing, though, eh? Got to get yourself a little swear jar that only, your significant other knows the combination to. And every time you swear, you just got to chuck a quarter in there or something, or whatever the heck they call those things in England. Inspector Gadget, I got you. I'm a pound. Yeah. I don't know. 25 cents, whatever 25 cents is to you guys. I've never been to England. Yeah. 50 pence would be a good one too, because that's a bit more than a quarter here. That's because your pound is what? It was 2 something before, $2 American. Now it's like $1.50 or something like that. Okay. So you do have the small change. Canada got rid of the penny entirely. No more pennies for Canada. They were costing too much to make. I think they were more than a penny. Well, I think they were. I know they were more than a penny to produce. One sec, I gotta respond to a text real quick. Oh yes, only the poor people living away from the Queen. Yeah, I don't know. The idea of selfishness to me is a hard one. Scrapping pennies, yeah. Because I am like you guys in a lot of ways. I tend to be very selfless to a fault, where I will sacrifice myself and my own personal well-being in some cases, particularly financially, where I'm not in a bad spot right now by any stretch of the imagination. We do very, very well from the American standard standpoint. So, but I mean, take my father, for example, and I'm not sure if my dad will ever see this stream, but I mean, he's welcome to watch it. My dad is an only child, and he was a very spoiled only child, to the point where when he needed money to buy a house, my grandparents sold their house and gave him the money, and they took out another mortgage. What do you see wrong with this picture? So my dad has always seen the sacrifice of family towards him as kind of like, well, that's just what I expect you to do. But when his friends come to him and say, hey, I need some of your time to go cut wood, he would sacrifice his family's time, and I'll tell you what I mean by this, to go cut wood. So here's the story. Tell me if you agree. My parents were divorced when I was 4, separated when I was 4, divorced when I was, I think, 9 or 10, the divorce actually happened. My father had no custody. My mom had custody. And my father was allowed to see me once a week. So every Sunday for a couple of hours, 5 hours, I think it was, something like that. He picks up at 11 and have us home by dinner. Most of the time, he didn't pick us up. I say us because I have an older brother. And the reason why he didn't pick us up is because usually he was entertaining his girlfriend, for one. My camera's a little high. There we go. Entertaining his girlfriend or helping a friend. So his selfishness and his desire to be selfless to his friends cost me, his family, time. Selfish. In his effort to be selfless with his friends, he was selfish towards his family. Which is the worst? Obviously. To me, him helping his friends was the absolute wrong answer. Excuse me. Hope you don't mind me burping in the microphone. Think about that. And we do this all the time. Yeah, it's completely ass backwards. But we do it all the time. Most of us don't. It's not as extreme as my dad, but most of us do it all of the time. Especially when it comes to our spouses. And this is the leading cause of divorce outside of money. I just want to go hang with my buddies and have a beer. What's your problem? That is it. I just want to, come on. The Patriots are playing at 8. I just want to go to my buddy's house and watch the Patriots game. Or in Canada, this was the big thing. The guys would all go hang out inside the garage. One guy would have like a beer fridge in his garage and a TV or a radio or something, and all the guys would hang out in the garage. In the middle of dead winter. Garage doors closed. They're all in the garage drinking beer. And all the wives are in their houses doing God knows what. All by themselves. That's a form of selfishness. You're sacrificing your family to hang with your buddies after you get home from work. When in my mind's eye, there's got to be limits. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about hanging with my buddies. I do it all the time. I just make a point of including my wife in all that stuff as much as possible. And Mrs. H, that's, that is probably one of the hardest things. I got a story to that, but I don't know if I want to share it because it's still kind of fresh. And I'll leave it for now. I'll come, maybe one day I might will tell it. I got to read your theory on British money here first. I think the lower the amount, the more of a terrible pick of the queen you should get. Yeah, true enough. Like, start off with the $100 bill that's got a beautiful picture of a very young, robust queen, and right down to the penny where she's like a 90-year-old, very drawn out queen. Just trying to think, how do I say that politely? Yeah, Mrs. H, that's a great idea. And we do the same thing. Every Friday is the only time we allow chips and all that kind of crap in our house because, my wife and I want to not be completely out of shape some time in the near future. So we only bring, the extra calories into the house on the weekend. And that's also when all the sports are on. So for us, hockey's about to start, so that's going to be some problems. So I get into the habit of drinking tea during hockey season, so I have something other than water to drink when I'm on the couch watching my 3 hockey games a night. But yeah, so Nappy, talk about that a little bit. This idea of why you think that's backwards. What was the trigger for you? Was that something that you experienced yourself? Or was that just something visceral that you're like, oh my gosh, no, that's just morally wrong. That's just repugnant, whatever the case is. Like what? Yeah, no problem, Inspector Gadget. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Pick me up some Swedish berries while you're out. Canadian thing you wouldn't understand. Really? So when did you start quit smoking? Because I just saw your stream the other day, and I'm just saying, I might have saw you smoking on stream. This was just the other day. Ah, that a girl. All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to it. You now officially have another accountability partner, whether you wanted it or not. Oh, you're smoking him. Mm-hmm. Sure. Just so happens the day before you decided to quit, you went out and picked up 14 cartons of smokes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Someone who always never had kids and wanted to give up limited time. Yeah, and you know what? Morgan hit the nail on the head last night. I kind of hinted on OG Pickle's stream. OG Pickle, everybody go follow and sub, please. That guy's amazing. Love him to death. The OG Pickle, or it's OG Pickle. Love him. Follow him. Give bits. Donate. On stream with him last night, talked about my near-death experience. One of the first things Morgan said to me last night. No, I don't have those set up. Morgan's starting to do all that stuff for me, Nappy. One of the first things she said to me last night was, go hug your kids. What she's saying is your time is precious. Make sure your kids know that you love them. And Nappy, that's why it was a trigger to you when I said what my dad did. Because you believe what she just said. Right? She understands. Morgan understood when I said last night, oh my gosh, you only have a little bit of time. And you almost completely ran out of time yesterday. Or today, in this case. You better go make sure your kids understand where you stand. So, I mean, to me, that's what, when you said that, that's what I heard you say. Was basically what Morgan's sentiment was last night on the stream. Rabbi, I leave you with a thought. Since I have to go back to work, words matter. Establishing a common definition for complicated subjects is a critical step to addressing the nuance inherent within. When we talk about sacrifice, are we talking about an exchange of something you value or something that holds no value for you? But does it have value for others, or does it sacrifice come in when you regret your own loss? Great question. And we did a sacrifice stream, I want to say 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And Rabbi, if you're still around, buddy, think of a topic. If you want to do this idea of sacrifice, game on. Let's do it. I'm all about it. Because I think sacrifice is inherent or essential when it comes to understanding when you're selfish and when you're not. Because if you're just being sacrificial, I don't know that that's necessarily selfless or selfish or whatever you want to frame it as. Again, it's circumstantial. If anybody in the room is of the praying sort, or if anybody just wants to be in thinking of Jemode, please be thinking of Jemode. She's having a tough time right now. Nothing really critical for her or anything like that, but just some family stuff that she's working with. We love Jemode to death, and we want to make sure that we give her our thoughts and prayers. But yeah, Robbie, let's do that, buddy. Let's get you on here ASAP. DM me sometimes, and maybe you and I can talk off stream one time and just kind of hash out some ideas and whatnot. And Mrs. H, same to you. I'll go and read your Discord message. I won't completely brush you off again, and see if we can find some opportunities there to do that. Pardon me. So does anyone know when all the streamers are supposed to be back doing their regular streaming thing, like Air Max and Chaco and all them peeps? Anyone know? Anybody? Because I missed all my people. Oh, and on another note, who are they? I mean, who are they? You know who they are. We watch all the same people, Nappy. May or may not be back tomorrow. Are they all driving back right now? I assume they'll probably stream later tonight on their little cell phones and stuff. Oh, I didn't get the alert for Hambino. I'll have to check him out. Yeah, okay. Pardon me. So, here, you only watch me. You lie. But I accept your lie as reality. And I love it. I need a game to play. I want to play a game periodically. I'm not sure what I want to play. I'm trying to look for my... Where is it? Oh, there's Steam. I just downloaded, for those of you who don't know, I love to do things like hunting and whatnot. And I know some of you don't like to hunt, but I just downloaded a game called The Hunter, Call of the Wild. I might play it on stream once or twice. But if you have any other games, I don't want to play like a shooter game like PUBG or Call of Duty, because everyone's doing that. I want to play something a little different where I don't have to worry about getting kicked back to the lobby every 30 seconds because I suck. Have I heard of Hellblade? Well, I'm about to. You ask a relevant question. Let's look up Hellblade. Is it on Steam, brother? There's Doom. Nope. Battleblade. No, it's not on Steam. What is Hellblade? I shall look it up on the interwebs. I can hear the kids out in the hallway. They're all loving it out there right now. They're having a blast. Hellblade. Where? It's not popping up for me. Oh, there it is. Yes. Senu's Sacrifice. Oh, that looks cool. What's the insightful? What's the crux of the game? Real quickly. From the makers of Heavenly Sword, Enslaved, Odyssey of the West, blah, blah, blah. Set in the Viking Age, a broken Celtic warrior embarks on a hunting vision quest of Viking hell to fight the soul of the dead lover. Oh, you play as a girl. Ooh. I'm going to look into that one. Insightful. I like. Where is the add to my wish list?
Everything's great.
Oh, Insightful
Everything
Nick
is awesome.
has been gifted a sub by Nappy. Well, I'm just going to say, you probably should know. Leg day is Thursday, and it hurts. I hope you enjoy leg day. Thursdays. Get ripped. Okay, Mrs. H, you said free game called... It's just called Frontier? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Frontier. The Final Frontier, the New Frontier. Halftime. Is it just Frontier? And for all you guys are already checked. Mrs. H, do you watch Nappy at all? Nappy, did you get the link to the video that you did? You did it. Throw it in my chat, man, so that anyone that hasn't seen it yet can see it and they can go check out your channel. I think I have it open. Yeah, if you guys, whoever hasn't, Airtight Alibi, welcome to the stream, buddy. Well, you've been here a while, or did you just get here? But Mrs. H, the game is just called Frontier, or is there more to it? Yeah, Insightful. I'm probably going to download that game for sure. Looks pretty epic. Yeah, there it is. Mrs. H, watch that video, that YouTube video for that Nappy just posted. Or anyone that hasn't seen Nappy's intro video thing that he did for his face cam reveal. It's pretty awesome. And not just because I'm in it. It's literally pretty awesome. He did a great job putting that together. Is Scarlett still streaming, or is she done? Yeah, Scarlett's still streaming. She's got 88 people watching her, for crying out loud. Yeah, the video's really well done. I'm just looking at these games. I need any other games besides these? Dead by Daylight. Ooh. Somebody else was talking about that Dead by Daylight game. I don't think I've looked at that one yet. But Mrs. H, I asked a question earlier. You haven't answered me yet. Is it just Frontier, the name? Because I'm not seeing it on Steam. I mean, there's a bunch of Frontiers on stream, but I don't know which one you're talking about. I've watched The Witness too much. I know most of the answers because 3 or 4 of the people. Wow, I've seen probably 3 streamers for sure that I know that have played that game enough that I think I could. Oh, New Frontier. There you go. That's why. Free to play. Yes, there it is. Oh, so you actually got to like build little villages and all that kind of jazz too. Fancy. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. You said it's still in beta though, right? It looks so quirky. The character animations are halftime. Oh yeah, that's so funny. Halftime. I wonder if this for the video they just have to have it speeded up. That's why it looks so funny. Here, let's do this so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm looking if you look at the character animation over here, if I back it up, like watch him get off his horse and stuff. See, that looks like the proper speed there. But once he starts building, like they go super speed. Look at it, just looked funny. And I thought there's no way that somebody's actually building that fast. Okay, so I've got that in my wish list. You said Gris. This one here, this Gris soundtrack, Gris. This one? Huh. Different. The animation on it is crazy. Crazy. Somebody mentioned another one. What was it? Not The Witness. That's so funny. Dead by Daylight. That was the one. Dead by... Oops. Oh, is that the... Who was playing this the other day? Oh, that's the one you were playing, the Palmyra Orphanage. That's what you were playing. I was confusing that with this for a second. Oh, dude, you look like... you look hungry. And somewhat... Yeah, you don't look nice. Wendy played Dead by Daylight? It's a knockoff of Stranger Things? Huh. Can you guys hear the audio on this? Look at my VODs on Dead by Daylight if you want to see proper gameplay. That was good. Clean up on aisle 3. Something says to me there's no one's coming. Okay, so what's the crux of this game here? Two minutes. All right. Ooh, that one. This looks really good. Lots of mature content. Lots of mature content. All the people dying. You look haunting. All right. Alrighty. I got some gaming ideas. So anyways, the obvious thing I want to do is I want to do a stream every now and then where I'm playing a game and doing a chat at the same time. Because my go-to is Minecraft. And that's just not fun. lots of death, whichever way you look at it. Let you look at the bright side. I will do the same. Well, so I leave you with the thought. Is it okay to be selfish? And if so, when? Why? I think for the next, it definitely appears this way. We're going to have a chat here about sacrifice at some point. So you'll probably see me come on. I'll be back next Monday for sure. I'm out of town the rest of this week. So I was thinking about doing another stream this week, but I'm definitely not going to be in a position to do another stream later this week. So I want you guys to do me a favor, because I've asked this before, and I'm telling you now, you're not listening. Hawaii again? I wish. Insightful. I wish. No, I'm going up northern Michigan. I want you guys to go down in the bottom, and there's a suggestion box there. I want you to use that suggestion box, and please put topics in there for me. I think we do okay, but I would like to get your opinion on topics. So things like sacrifice and selfishness and things of that nature. Literally anything. You want to talk about Lego? We can talk about Lego. I just want to know what you want to talk about. Anyways, so I've got to scoot. I'll be back next Monday as usual. I suggest you do more heavy lifting. Yeah, I'm getting there. But we'll be back. All right, guys. Thanks. Appreciate you all being here again today. Nappy, thanks for all the gifts. Thank you to all you guys who subbed today. Great chat. I mean, I have not seen such an engaged conversation in a while. This was a good conversation. Obviously triggered some people. Poor Rabbi wanted to reach out and strike me at one point, I think, but I'm just kidding. Nappy's a great guy. I plan on it. If one of you guys wants to come on besides Rabbi, I'd be happy. And Nappy, we should probably do a stream too, buddy. I know you got all the gear to do it, so we should probably just hook up one day and just do a test stream, you and I. And because I know Sagi will never do it. And he talks about it. He talks a big game all the time, that guy. Anyways. So, all right, guys. Peace out. You guys have a great rest of your week. And, yeah, hopefully we'll come back in a little bit. Diablo, thanks for stopping at the end there, buddy. And, yeah, thanks again who gifted subs and those who resubscribed. Like I said, Rabbi jumped in today. Nappy gifted a whole crap ton. And so a whole bunch of people followed while we were offline the other day, too. So thank you guys for all that. And we'll, toxic. We'll see you all you guys and girls next Monday. Take it easy, folks. Peace out. Hey, don't forget Leg Down Thursday. I'll be watching.